I am ranked number one. One! That means I'm the best.
Wasn't expecting to have to do this video. Nick Blackwell says Chris Eubank Jr. and his dad Sr. were inhuman in how they reacted to his life-threatening injuries post-fights. Blackwell, 25 years of age, suffered a bleed on the brain when he was stopped by Eubank Jr. in March and was put in an induced coma. The Eubank clan held a press conference after the British middleweight clash while Blackwell was in hospital. Blackwell says that his family and friends were begging them not to talk, but they ignored it, is what Blackwell told the Sun newspaper. I was still in a coma, but they went ahead and did it. I've only just seen the press conference, and I know exactly what happened. It's not humane. It's not human what they've done. Blackwell, luckily enough, didn't need further operations from the self-induced coma. A week later, he woke up. He was stopped in the 10th at the Wembley Arena. As we know, Eubank Sr. had advised his son to avoid the head and instead concentrate on body shots, not to do Blackwell any further neurological damage. Well, that was the theory. Blackwell goes on to say, if Chris Eubank Jr. was in a coma and I wanted to do a press conference on the Tuesday and their family was begging me not to do it, I would not do it, added Blackwell. It's inhuman, it's disgusting. But that's the Eubanks, isn't it? They just want attention, no matter if it's bad or a good thing. Eubank Jr. defended the actions of him and his father, speaking to the Sun newspaper themselves. He said, the media, the mass media attention after the fight and the outcry from the fans, they were demanding them to speak about the events that transpired. And he said if we had said no comment, and gave no opinion or no remorse, no anything, they would have looked on it as cold, he explained. He said if Nick is part of the small percentage that took offense, that's unfortunate. It's sad for me to hear something like that. All I've ever wanted for Nick has been the best. Well, if that's the case, why would only Chris Eubank Jr. and Sr. get a gagging order? How comes Tyson Fury? How comes Billy Joe Saunders? How comes Nick Hennessy? Commentary and the punditry team on Channel 5 spoke about the events after. Richie Woodall. Why just them? I don't get it. Did they say anything negative about Nick? That, oh, we're happy he was put in a coma? No, they didn't. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't see what it is that Eubank and Eubank Sr. did bad. What is it they did wrong? Lots of people spoke about the events of what transpired because it was traumatizing to the viewer. Of course you want first-hand commentary from those who were in the battle. Of course you would want that. It seems strange to me. It seems strange why they'd bring this up and make a big deal out of it. Because no one until now has said Eubank did anything wrong. What is it he did wrong? What was it he said? We understand it's a sensitive period for Blackwell and his family, but there's only so much eggshells they can walk on. They didn't say anything negative about Blackwell, not once. Now I'm going to speak blunt here, and the dislikes are going to come thick and fast. When Nigel Benn injured Gerald McClellan, Gerald McClellan's sisters have to look after Gerald 24/7, and his hard work, whatever money Don King gave them or purse money they had, was soon tested by the care needs of McClellan. And one of the sisters held a deep resentment against Nigel Benn, a deep resentment. I saw a program where Ben went to America to visit them, and Ben didn't realize the trauma that was put upon the McClellan family. And the sister was crying tears, and you could see the resentment. And I'm not sure if it was totally resolved in the time period they had together, but I think she hugged Ben. I think she hugged him. And there was a lot of pain there. Ben was crying, she was crying, and it was tough to watch. It was actually very tough TV to watch. Because if it was my brother, I know what I'd be like. You could tell me it was a fair contest, it was well regulated, the doping process was in order, they both came in at a relatively equal size comparison, approaching 160. You could tell me all of this stuff here. You could tell me that Eubank had just as much chance as getting injured as Blackwell. It wouldn't matter. Because the bottom line is, that's my brother in a coma, and he did it. So I understand that. It's human nature. They've just seen their son. The Blackwell family have seen their son get hurt badly in the ring. And they're still processing the whole situation. There is still an underlying resentment to Eubank from a lot of Blackwell fans. And possibly that animosity could be, I'm not saying for definite, could be extended to how the Blackwell family is feeling right now towards the Eubanks. Let's remember, it was a very volatile build-up. There's a lot of talking done by both parties. This is what gets me in trouble in life. I just speak what people are thinking bluntly out when they're trying to hide it and be covert and bury it under language and stuff. That's what's happening. They are still dealing with that fallout. I remember watching Eubanks' dad, Senior, after he put Michael Watson in a similar position, and they met up when Michael was still recuperating and rehabilitating, I guess. And Michael is a God-fearing Christian, and he said, "I forgive you, Chris. I forgive you." And I think Eubank was moved to tears because he was probably praying for Michael's forgiveness himself, or wishing for Michael's forgiveness. This is a trying time for Nick Blackwell and his family. Nick Blackwell is no longer a boxer. It was taken from him. Within the 20 minutes or so he was in the ring, it was taken from him. Gone. He has to adjust to life again without boxing. His family has to go forward with him. It's not just him who's suffering. How do they deal with all this? I mean, the family knew the dangers Nick was going into by boxing. They knew this. But even though you're always reminded, you don't expect it to be you or your son in the coma. You don't expect, wow, look at all what we have to deal with. No one is foreseeing that. They didn't foresee that, despite having the hindsight of what profession their son chose to go into. So they all have to move forward with a certain amount of shock and surprise that this has been put upon them. I mean, what's the compensation process for Blackwell? The British Boxing Board of Control, they won't be liable. They had all their practices in hand, paramedics, ambulance, doctors, so they're not going to be forking anything out. The rehab will take money. Now, boxers are insured. I don't know what policy or contingency Blackwell has in hand. I haven't got a clue. I don't know. But I believe there's some carryover resentment there from the Blackwell family. That's what I believe. And I understand it. They're hitting out a little. But this is boxing, man. Boxing, at times, it can really push the periphery. It really can. I mean, look at the build-up, my man. I mean, they brought Tyson Fury in the ring, holding up the belts. Billy Joe Saunders was acting like an absolute idiot at times in the commentary position on IFL London in the build-up. They were trying to be intimidating. One man has to win. So this is what they picked out to get vexated about. But if it wasn't that, I think they would have found something else. Because I believe the resentment is still there. So that's all I'm going to say on it for now. Let's hope Blackwell can find some kind of peace in his life and his family can resolve their issues with what's happened. That's all we can hope for. Peace.